Hey all, today I'm going to be showcasing what I'm going to be using for survival, specifically the main loadout I'm using that I have on right now, as well as some alternatives depending on the situation. This is just from some recent meta changes and what I believe to be powerful in the meta right now, but it's also versatile, and I have enough armor to make this like viable of a strategy to switch between loadouts and take advantage of certain maps when they come in. So to start off, we've got the Wing shotgun here. I believe Wing is especially powerful. If you don't have Wing or the Catalyst, No Time to Explain is a very good secondary option. I might replace this Wing with the No Time to Explain every now and then just to see how it performs, because I've been liking it a lot recently. But Wing has been a sure go-to pulse rifle for the survival game mode, just because this perk is actually very important for clutching up rounds, and you especially need to do that if you're doing freelance, which I am going to be doing. It allows me to win a bunch of rounds because of that extra recovery. And the shotgun obviously is to cover the shorter range distances. Power weapon doesn't matter too much. In addition to having the Wing here, some of the stats like the handling and the reload speed are kind of low, so I supplement that with the Ophidian aspect. I don't have the best roll of my Ophidian aspect, but I do have like an above 60 roll that I masterworked, and it allows me to get to 100 recovery and about 80 intellect easily. I think 80 intellect is about where you want to be. At least last season, that's what I do. I just go to 80 intellect, and I take advantage of the fact that I'd be getting a super before everybody else. Usually I run it with double pump action, but pump action is essentially gone for the class item anyway. So. And I'm going to be using the new stasis subclass. I don't have any aspects or fragments yet, just because I don't play the quests or whatever. I don't even know how to get them. But the melee is super powerful, and I think this melee is going to be especially good against shotgunners. This is mainly a defensive build, I should note. The Wing is the main weapon. Fellwinters comes out when someone gets too close, but you also have the melee to supplement this. I've also got the shield grenade, even though I don't have the overpowered one, the cold snap. But this can be used against walls, allow me to take higher distances that I couldn't have done otherwise unless I was running something like Top Tree Dawn, which will be able to consume my grenade. And I'm going to talk about subclasses in a second here. But that's essentially the main part of this build. I'm using the Shadebinder subclass here to take advantage of the defensive elements that it can help. And the Wing will be able to compete at the range, essentially. And my thought process behind this is that because 150s became 140s, because 600 RPM autos time to kill is increased by like 0.1 a second, I think, I should be winning more duels with the pulse rifle. And because I have the better primary weapon, the only thing that can stop this is snipers, which already got nerfed, and I feel like it's a good nerf, and shotgunners or people coming in too close with like an SMG or a sidearm or something, for which I have the melee and the shotgun. The mods here are pretty standard, some targeting mods and unflinchings, double scavenger. I don't usually run double scavenger with shotguns, but because this is a defensive build, I basically need shotgun ammo at all times because of how because I'm not like running in all the time, and I'm not going to be dropping ammo for my opponents if I die, which is why you wouldn't want to run double scavenger in the first place necessarily. I've also got a few charge of light mods here incidentally. Powerful Friends is essentially free because I run it with the Radiant Light, which both buff each other. And the 20 strength is super important for this melee. The melee is just so good. I would highly recommend running this build even just for the melee. But the mobility is nice too. I don't really care about mobility for this build anyways, but even though it's free, because I'm the stationary player, I gotta play with the Vigilant Swing that way. So aside from this, I've got a few other weapons in my loadout here. These couple weapons are just for power level, so I can get higher power level while I'm playing PvP. But I've got a few other things here that I want to show off. And this is kind of this is the Rumble build that I use a lot. The 120 now, not 110, but a 120 RPM, a Fighting Lion, and then I'll switch to Getaway Artist for the Arc Soul. And this essentially simulates a very fast time to kill with the 120 RPM with two headshots most of the time, as long as you have the Arc Soul. And oftentimes I'm running double tree with this, for which I can switch to, or I can get these Ionic Traces, and I can switch to Geomags to get a really good super. This was my main build for Rumble last season, and I used Geomags as well as the Veggie shotgun for survival. I grind to 5500 solo. In addition to this, this is my only grenade launcher build for which I need the grenade launcher strats, but I also have a number of other, like, aside from these two main builds, just strategies I can use against certain players. For example, I'm not a big sniper, but if I wanted to snipe, and sniping with an auto rifle, I'll use IO Soul Gnawing Hunger. Gnawing Hunger is still fine. I think the time to kill on these auto rifles are still completely competitive. And if I still wanted that time to kill with an auto rifle, I'm getting destroyed by auto rifles, so I can still switch to a shotgun. My Astral Horizon. Or if I just wanted to be to fight some supers, I can put on the Bastion. Also, if I feel like my opponents aren't really baiting that much, then I can put on the Bastion as well. If I wanted to snipe with the sidearm, this is what I have. This new sidearm, the Lonesome, I think is pretty good. I got a better roll recently, so I'm using this. Full auto kill clip. I can put on the high cows as well, or opening shot has a lot of customization. As well as some pretty decent range. And in addition to that, I can also, like, if I want a better close range weapon, my favorite type of close range weapon, which is the SMG, I have the 7 Seraph Y7, which the Firmly Planted will allow me to slide into gunfights a lot more effectively with better accuracy. This thing melts, by the way, highly underrated. And then obviously there's the Shunt Shot, the only 150 RPM hand cannon in the game right now. Extremely powerful. Pretty good range to mitigate the range boosts that 140s have. And I don't use hand cannons a lot, but this is what I'd use if I were to put one on. So that quite about covers the loadouts that I have here for swapping between in certain maps. If I wanted to snipe, if I wanted to use an auto rifle, if I had my secondary main loadout with the 110 or 120, I should say. For heavy weapons, I have specific situations for each. Here I have the rocket launcher. This is for general use when I don't feel like anything else will be quite as effective, or anything that comes to mind. The Komodo here is for the longer range maps. I feel like this thing has just like insane aim assist. It's really better than a sniper in my opinion when you have it on, and it's good for securing heavy ammo and playing defensively. Like, you don't need to play aggressive with this thing to get the kills like you would with a machine gun. Speaking of machine guns, I do have the Heir Apparent here, which can be used as like an aggressive machine gun, like picking up heavy in that sense, right? It also gets a lot of kills. This is like this will be like a main killing weapon, I should say. In a similar regard, I have super mitigation weapons like my Black Talon here, which will do enough damage to kill a super, as well as against 3-peekers who, if they decide to, and I feel like I need to 3-peek against them to win. Deathbringer is kind of for fun here, but it's also pretty good on close range maps, if you can believe it. Throwing it in corners and stuff is much better than just like a regular rocket launcher, because people can run away from these, but if you fire it closer, it's almost certain to get like 2 or 3 kills against a team. And this interference, I'm really sad to play the game is Sunset, because that's what I used for a while. But this interference with proximity nades will have to do for now. I'll see how it goes. If it is or isn't effective, I don't care. I want to simulate that play of the game that I used to use, which was the grenade launcher I used for the most aggressive style. If I wanted to switch subclasses, I can do so with these few exotics that I have here. Specifically, the ones that I want to point out most are for Top Tree Stormcaller, for which I have my Crown of Tempests, and this will all put grenade mines on it, but this is basically a grenade build. Getting your grenade back fast, make sure you have your grenade up at all times, so when you pop your super, you get extra from kills from the helmet and from the Transcendence, right? For Middle Tree, obviously I talked about Getaway Artist and talked about how effective that was with my secondary build of the 120 and the Fighting Lion. But you can also use an Arc Soul with basically any other some of these weapons that you might feel like are not as effective. For example, if you wanted to increase the time to kill of your SMG because you're going to be close and the Arc Soul travel time isn't going to be that bad, or if you wanted to use it with the sidearm, I have that option. But it's not as good with longer range weapons, I should say. Just these few. In addition to that, I also have a blink build. If I ever decide that I need a shutdown super, this is what I use for shutdown supers. I use a blink build, super effective to get away from people, as well as to have some shotgun ape tools. For example, the handheld supernova is very effective with this. The melee is very effective with this because it pushes people back. And obviously, the super is not the best thing in the world, but it's actually very effective at chasing people down as well with the blink. So that's essentially for like these 3 subclasses. For Top Tree Don, you can essentially run anything. I'll probably be only running Top Tree Don and none of these 2, just because of the other 2 are, 1, extremely stationary and probably mitigated by subclasses, and their abilities that 2 of their abilities are just very lackluster when it comes to it. If I wanted extra melee, I could put on the extra melee help. I could put on the Karnsteins. If I wanted some extra speed, I could put on the Transversus, or I could just go with my traditional Ophidian aspects. It gives me a lot of options here. The Wings of Sacred Dawn is for Widow's Court only. I think this is there are a lot of angles on Widow's Court that make this very effective and hard to deal with. But otherwise, I'm not going to be using this on like a specific build or anything. Just for sniping and maybe the occasional Vigiwing to put along with it. So that's what I'll be using for this season's grind to 5500 in survival. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Hopefully I'll post some videos on these builds.